know this is not the most flattering point of view for my face. This is actually the Tracts point of view as I'm putting together a sample packet, one each of every tract that we currently produce. We put out about 4,000 or 5,000 of these sample packets every year. Here's what I'm holding behind the camera. That's the rustling you're hearing as I grab one each of all these titles. Would love to invite you to come see it in person and see what we do at Bible Tracts. November 7th on Saturday, 11 to 4 p.m., we're having an open house. Free food, fellowship, fun, all that stuff, and a chance to really catch a glimpse of what God allows us to do. Would love to see you there. Bring a friend with you if it works out. Hope the broadcast today is a blessing to you. Thanks so much for listening to the program. Have a great day for His glory. God bless.
Friend, if I could tell you how to achieve lifelong happiness, if I could explain to you how to receive a real lack of fear, a lack of being overwhelmed by the circumstances of life, if I could explain to you how to make your parents happy with you, how to make them glad that you are their son or daughter, if I could open the mysteries of having a long life in riches, would you be interested? Well, funny enough, I can tell you about all of those things from the Bible today. I'd like for you to join me, if you would, in Proverbs chapter number 2. We are continuing our study that we introduced yesterday. It's Discipleship study number 11 from Bible Tracts Incorporated. I'm so privileged as an evangelist, as the director of Bible Tracts Incorporated, to spend a few minutes with you today. I hope what we talk about will be a blessing and will stand you in good stead as you go through and finish out this week over these next couple of days. As the director of Bible Tracts Incorporated, I would also be remiss if I did not tell you that God has been so very good to us. I'm excited in the coming weeks, very soon, to give you some praise reports about what God is doing through some new offerings that we've been able to acquire, some different things that God has brought along our path. We're so excited about them. You know, as we come to the end of the year, one of our keys, one of our focuses is this: concentration. Here's what I mean by that. We have so much going on here at Bible Tracts Incorporated that our goal is to do what we do, the main thing, meaning putting out gospel tracts for free. We want to do that well. And so what I'd like you to do is this: help us. Give us some repetitions, as they say. Give us some reps. What I'd like you to do is this: visit BibleTractsInc.org and order some gospel tracts. What that will help us do is practice what we do best. Now, we've been doing it for 80-something years, but we're always learning something new. As I mentioned, we've had some new things come across our path, and I'm excited to share those with you. But I'd love for you to see how we box up our tracts. I'd love for you to see the packaging, the care that goes into every single package of tracts. God has given us some great opportunities here at BTI, and I'd love for you to see what we do. Now, here's how you can help us one more time. Visit BibleTractsInc.org and order some tracts. If you're unfamiliar with gospel tracts, if you don't know about our ministry, that's completely okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. What I'd recommend for you to order the first time. Now, did I mention that our tracts are free? F-R-E-E, free? Here's what I recommend you do. I'd like you to get our sample packet. It's one each of every tract that we put out. It's about 40 different tracts. I'd like you to get those tracts. And here's what you can do. You sit down, and maybe it's been a long time since you've gotten one of our sample packets. Maybe you're not sure what tracts we currently carry. Go ahead and order one. We'd love to send you a sample packet. Take those gospel tracts, all 40 of them, and put them down like a deck of cards on your table. Maybe sit down at your dining room or kitchen table and take the first one. Now, before you do that, consider praying. Consider prayerfully talking to God about what you're about to do. But take that first tract and open it up. Look at that front cover for a moment. See the design on there and then open it up. Maybe read a few lines and skim over that tract and decide, which of my 3 piles is this tract going to go in? Wait a second. What 3 piles? Well, here are the 3 piles that I want you to create. Number 1, here's the tracts that I absolutely love. I need more of these tracts. That's the first pile. And when you complete this task, you're going to take those tracts from that first pile, and I'd like you to go back to our website and order some more of those tracts for free. But you take this first tract and you decide which pile is it going into. The first pile, the pile that is the tracts I love so much, or maybe it goes in the second pile. The second pile is for tracts that maybe they're a little bit more specific to a certain circumstance. For instance, one of our tracts, the title is this: Peace in Terminal Illness. Now, a word to the wise, that tract, it's not the best tract for everyday use, but in certain circumstances, that is the best tract you could have. I was at a church not long ago, and I mentioned that tract, and it piqued the interest of the pastor's wife. She came up to me afterward and said, "Could I have just one of those tracts, the Peace in Terminal Illness title?" And I said, "Absolutely. Why do you need it?" She said this: "My next-door neighbor is dying of cancer. It's not going to be long for them, and I'd like to give them that tract for them to read." You know, friend, in that circumstance, at that time, it might just be the perfect tract. So number 1 pile, my favorite tracts. Number 2 pile, those specific tracts that maybe I'll use sparingly, but not often. The last pile is this, and I won't begrudge you this at all. Please understand. The last pile are my least favorite tracts. Those are the gospel tracts I'm never going to use. So, let me back up. Rewind for just a second here. Why do you need to get a sample packet? First of all, I want you to help us practice what we do here at Bible Tracts. I want you to see the new packaging. I want you to see everything that we do. We love to deliver one to you. And then you take those gospel tracts and you put them into good use. Now, I made some big promises at the beginning of the broadcast. We talked about getting understanding and happiness, long life and riches, a lack of fear, glad parents, leaders' favor. How can we do all of these things? Well, I believe the Bible tells us, God tells us, through wisdom. I ask you to go to Proverbs chapter 2 and verse number 9. Proverbs 2 and verse 9. Here are some results of wisdom. As we continue this study today, we're going to look at the results of wisdom. God willing, we're going to get a little bit further in our study today, and we'll conclude tomorrow. Let's look at results of wisdom. Number 1, understanding. Now, what is the Bible talking about when it says understanding? Let's look at the Bible. Proverbs 2, verse 9. Then shalt thou understand righteousness and judgment and equity, yea, every good path. Now, those seem like the types of things that I want to understand. But what's the key that opens the door? It's wisdom. How about deliverance from evil and wicked people? This is another result of wisdom. Proverbs 2, verse 12. Same chapter, just a few verses down. To deliver thee from the way of the evil man, from the man that speaketh froward things. How about this? Happiness. Flip over one chapter to Proverbs chapter 3 and verse number 13. A result of wisdom is happiness. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, Proverbs 3:13 says, and the man that getteth understanding. Are you convinced yet that wisdom is something that you should be pursuing? If not, let me give you some more Bible. Here's another result of wisdom. Proverbs 3, verse number 16. Length of days is in her right hand. We're talking about wisdom specifically. And in her left hand, riches and honor. Does a long life, riches, do those things interest you? Well, consider acquiring wisdom first. How about this? Strength against stumbling. A few verses later, Proverbs 3:23, then shalt thou walk in thy way safely, and thy foot shall not stumble. Proverbs 3:24, when thou liest down, thou shalt not be afraid. Yea, thou shalt lie down, and thy sleep shall be sweet. There are so many people that need, that desire, a lack of fear. Wisdom can give that to you. We could talk about the promotion that wisdom brings. Proverbs 4:8 says, "Exalt her," meaning wisdom, "and she shall promote thee. She shall bring thee honor when thou dost embrace her." How about a crown of glory? Proverbs 4:9, one verse later, "She shall give to thine head an ornament of grace. A crown of glory shall she deliver to thee." We already mentioned riches. How about honor? Proverbs 8:18, "Riches and honor are with me, yea, durable riches and righteousness." Everyone's always chasing the next dollar, but how about some riches and honor that will never go away, brought to you by wisdom? I'll give you a few more results of wisdom here shortly. Glad parents. Proverbs 10:1 says, the Proverbs of Solomon, "A wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother." Would you rather be a wise son or a foolish son? How about a leader's favor? Proverbs 14:28, "In the multitude of people is the king's honor, but in the want of people is the destruction of the prince." Friend, all of these examples of the results of wisdom, they lay bare, they lay at your feet the reasons why you should consider pursuing wisdom. Let's conclude our study today with this. How can you recognize a wise person? And maybe you can use this as a litmus test as you look in the mirror and figure out, am I a wise person? A wise person, Proverbs 1:5 says, will hear. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. A wise person is a hard worker, Proverbs 10:5. A hard worker receives commands, Proverbs 10:8. A wise person lays up knowledge. So often we hear something and decide, I don't need to hear that because I'll never need that. Partner, if I had $1 for every time that I didn't listen to something that I would end up needing later, I would be a rich man. How about this? A wise woman controls their lips. This is a hard one, but it's biblical. Proverbs 10:19, "In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin," meaning sin abounds when people are talking a lot. "But he that refraineth his lips is wise." A wise person is humble. A wise person has leadership qualities, wins souls, listens to counsel, controls their tongue, listens to their parents, is well informed, is constructive, has understanding, and gives knowledge. Proverbs 15:7, "The lips of the wise disperse knowledge, but the heart of the foolish doeth not so." Friend, you want wisdom. You also might want to get this discipleship study, study number 11. We'd love to send it to you for free. You can receive it by contacting us. Just last week, I had 2 people text me and let me know they wanted a discipleship study. Here's my text number, 309-316-7240. One more time, 309-316-7240. God willing, there's a lot left, but we'll conclude this study tomorrow.